Hi Newton, tonight you're watching Veracity. I'm your host Tom Sheff. Tonight we continue our series of debates between candidates for public office, and tonight we have a debate for Ward 4 School Committee members. To my left, candidates. To my left is Dan Proskauer, and to my other left is Jonathan Yale, both running obviously for Ward 4 School Committee. On an unrelated matter, a parent from Newton is collecting used computers so he can rehab them and give them off to the schools or to a deserving student. His name is Phil Glanz, and if you have a used computer you'd like to give him, donate to him, or even just memory of a computer, not memory of a computer, but memory that's in the computer, please email him at coachphil@gmail.com. Now back to the rules of the debate. The basic rules are there are no rules. All I ask from the candidates is that they should respect one another. Each candidate wrote 5 questions apiece, and I get to choose which questions get asked. Then after all candidates answer the question, they get a chance to rebut any claims of facts. And I am hoping we do this in a respectful manner, which I know we will. If I find one candidate is taking up all the time, I will try to get the other candidate more involved. Here's the first question, and it's going to Jonathan Yao. Mm-hmm. Please describe your view of the role of the school committee, and include in your answer, should the school committee hold the superintendent and administration accountable, and should the school committee demonstrate accountability in and of itself?
First, I just wanted to thank you, Tom, for hosting the show, and for New TV for hosting this program. My name is Jonathan Yeo. I'm running for re-election to the Ward 4 seat on the school committee. I think the answer to your question is yes. The school committee is the supervisor of the school superintendent. This is our role as elected officials here in Newton and across the Commonwealth. School committees are charged with not only supervising the activities of the school system, making the budgetary decisions, the policy decisions, but also supervising the superintendent, him or herself. And they need to be holding the superintendent and his or her team accountable for progress on issues, whether if you've set priorities for the school year or over a longer period of time, you need to be holding the superintendent and that team accountable for meeting those goals. This is part of the requirements of a school committee are legislated under the Ed Reform Act. And certainly the budgetary matters, the overall policy guidance, overall curriculum guidance, as well as senior personnel decisions are certainly within the role of the school committee. It's something that I take very seriously. I'm a senior manager in state government. I manage a large organization of 180 staff. I manage supervisors. I hold my supervisors accountable for what they do. And I believe it's our role as the school committee to hold the superintendent responsible for meeting the goals that we set forth.
Okay, Dan?
Okay. Well, thank you very much also, Tom, for having us both here. And I appreciate the opportunity to be head-to-head or shoulder-to-shoulder with Jonathan. I think the role of the school committee is clearly one of leading the schools. And you lead the schools both from a vision standpoint, from a supervision standpoint, as well as from a role model standpoint, for that matter. Excuse me. I think that it's very, very important to demonstrate accountability from the school committee on down. And that's something that I think we can do more of, and maybe I'll talk to Jonathan about in the rebuttal a little bit. The superintendent absolutely has to have clear goals and vision. I'm concerned that from time to time we have not been fair to the superintendent, and we have not given enough clear goals and enough accountability and performance measurement. So that's something that I think we can maybe do a little bit better on.
Anything to add, Jonathan?
Just adding on to that, I think there are many things that are helpful to the superintendent to set guidance for him or her. And laying down clear goals at the beginning of the school year and over a longer time period are critical. And setting benchmarks and setting guidance for where the school system needs to be going are critical. Performance measures are extremely helpful where we can to set numerical and or set criteria for performance would be something that is helpful and is something I'm looking forward to working with our next mayor, Seti Warren or Ruth Balzer. Tom's laughing. To develop a performance management system for the entire city. I have significant experience in this matter. I helped develop and run a performance management system at the Mass Water Resources Authority. It's something that I'm very interested in incorporating school-side issues into a citywide performance management system.
Dan?
So I guess one question that I would ask Jonathan around accountability of the school committee itself. I had a concern specifically around the budget. And we all know that we've had a school cost structure that's growing at 6% a year and revenue increases of 3.5% a year. That's been well hashed out.
Yeah, it's more like 4.5%, but that's where it's been growing at. But
okay, so the concern that I have is around when this has been discussed, and I've observed it myself at school committee meetings, and I'm sure you have too, from time to time, there gets a feeling of, well, it's out of our control. You know, it's the contract, or it's the utility bills, or it's the health care. It's out of our control. And given that I absolutely agree with you, the school committee does have responsibility for the budget and the cost structure. You know, saying it's out of our control is.
Oh, it's yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, that's a very valuable thing to say at this point. I think, to me, it is certainly within our control. Many things are within our control. Even things like utility bills are within our control. There's much we can do. There's much we have done. Just this past year, we took a series of measures to switch over from oil to natural gas in many of our schools and to start a preventative maintenance program on our boiler systems. We are now saving $1 million a year in energy costs. That's $1 million that we can now use to deal with class size issues and deal with real school maintenance issues. There are other things. Obviously, the contract was within our control. Such things as the health insurance program, which I'd love to change, are to some degree more in the bailiwick of the mayor, of the city side. But I think it's critical for the school committee to work with the city side to tackle issues like that. Whether we jump to the GIC program and save a lot of money, or any other measures, I think are definitely within our control. Many other issues are definitely within our control. There's things, and we'll probably get to it in one of the future questions, so I'll sort of hold on for right now.
Okay, so this question goes to Dan. How do we keep down school costs without negatively affecting the level of education, the program?
Okay, well, that's obviously the $1 million question, or in this case, the $166 million question, right? We have to change something, right? I mean, we have an ever-growing amount of curriculum we want to cover. We have a tremendous breadth of subjects that we value, and I personally value, that entire breadth very highly. We don't want to be charging people for instrumental lessons. Things like that, I think, are not where we want to be. So how do we preserve all that and still reduce cost? We have to attack the budget from a couple of perspectives. One is we have to really understand how much of the budget is infrastructure and how much of it is incremental. And it's, I think, very important to separate those, because if you don't, then you start mixing them up and you start trading off infrastructure for incremental or incremental for infrastructure, and it can lead you down a very slippery slope. We need to then look at both of those and optimize them. In terms of the incremental cost, which is mostly around programs, we need to look at those programs, evaluate them, evaluate the effectiveness of them. It doesn't mean cut them, it means make them better. I think in the end, we are going to need to do something about the structure of the compensation, healthcare, the other benefits, salary, everything. We need to look at that. We have tremendous teachers in Newton. We have some phenomenal teachers. Most of them are terrific. We need to figure out how to retain them without paying, with a target of the 90 percentile in the state. We need to figure out how to get a mix of that it doesn't mean, slash the teacher's compensation. It means figure out how to provide value to the teachers in ways that don't necessarily increase the cost at quite such a rate. But we must build flexibility into our budget. Right now, we have no wiggle room, right? We are unable to deal with unexpected consequences of enrollment fluctuations or, a crisis in a building. Our backs are against the wall, so we have to do something there. And it's going to be difficult, but it needs to be done.